Well, hello and welcome to the e-commerce podcast with me, your host, Matt Edmondson. The e-commerce podcast is all about helping you deliver e-commerce wow. And to help us do just that, today we are chatting with Shirish Nadkarni about unlocking marketplace success and overcoming modern monopolies. Oh, yes, we are. But before we dive into that conversation, let me just remind you, dear listener, if you haven't done so already, head over to the website, ecommercepodcast.net, sign up to the newsletter, and we will send you the notes and the links from our conversation straight to your inbox. They come through automatically. It's awesome. So sign up for that. And also, let me do a big shout out to the e-commerce cohort who brings you succinctly the e-commerce podcast. Oh yes, e-commerce cohort is our membership group, our private members group, which you can join. Every month we deliver expert workshops. We get usually ex-guests from the podcast actually delivering workshops. They're awesome. So it just helps you learn and grow in e-commerce. Plus, one of the other added benefits, apart from the myriad of others, is you get to watch the live recording of this podcast. So we live record the podcast. You get to watch it. You can come join in. You can ask your questions to our guests, and I'm sure they would love to answer them. So yes, if you haven't done so already, come join us in cohort. It'd be great to see you in there. More information is available at ecommercecohort.com. Membership prices start from just $14.99, so it's not expensive. Come and join us. Now, oh yes, perfect timing on the music. It's almost like I'm a professional. Steady on, Matt. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Now let's meet Shirish Nadkarni, a serial entrepreneur with the Midas touch for creating businesses that reach millions. Not only did he co-found LiveMocha, the language learning giant, and he also laid the groundwork for BlackBerry Internet Email. We are going back a little bit there, Shirish, I'm not going to lie. He also shares his wisdom as an author, his books From Startup to Exit, and his recent masterpiece, Winner Takes All, case studies in how online marketplaces are creating modern monopolies, are must-reads in the business world. Shirish, good to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us, man, all the way from Seattle, Washington. How are we doing today?
Thank you, Matt. Great to be with you. I'm doing well.
Good, man. Good. So for those that might not know, and I dare say actually there's going to be quite a few that don't know, just explain what BlackBerry Internet Email is, because I know, right, going back a few years, but it's that bizarre point of life where there are going to be people listening to the show that actually have no idea what I'm talking about. So just explain that and let's jump into the conversation.
Right. Yeah. So BlackBerry, first of all, was a very popular mobile device that lets you access your email and calendar. It had a unique keyboard on the device, so you're not typing on a piece of glass. And it was very, very popular in the 2000 timeframe until iPhone came about.
Yeah.
Now, BlackBerry Internet Email was technology that my company had developed that BlackBerry acquired, and it allowed people to access their existing email accounts. So we had reverse engineered all the proprietary email systems, including AOL, Hotmail, Lotus Notes, etc. And you could access any of these email systems through BlackBerry Internet Email.
So, I mean, hats off to you, sir, for doing that, because it sounds like, we're so used to this, like the iPhone now, you can scan a QR code and connect to all your accounts and all that sort of stuff. But this is in the very early noughties, and you're doing something which sounds to me like it was a bit of a technical breakthrough. It never really been done before. So I'm curious, did you just wake up one day and think, I'm just going to crack the world of email because I want email on my BlackBerry? Or was there something else that sort of was driving this?
Yeah, so this was, again, in the early 2001, 2002 timeframe where BlackBerry was getting started. At the same time, phones, commodity phones, at that time Nokia and Samsung,
Yeah.
etc. phones were becoming internet enabled. And so we said, hey, wouldn't it be great if you could access your email account on your phone, just like with BlackBerry? And so we then looked into all the popular email accounts systems out there and found that they were all proprietary. And so we had to essentially reverse engineer all of these email systems to enable access to those systems. And we made it very, very simple. All you had to do was enter your email address and password, and boom, you would be able to access your email. So that was very attractive to BlackBerry because they were all about email access, and we gave them the ability to access a wide range of accounts.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy. Crazy times. And that's, so I take it you had a BlackBerry yourself. You would access your emails on this. You'd obviously do a lot of testing.
Yeah.
So was that your first soiree, if I can put it that way, into the world of tech, or was there something pre-cracking email on BlackBerry?
So before starting my company, which was called Team On Systems in 2000, for about 12 years, I had worked at Microsoft.
Okay.
And I actually worked on email technology, including doing the
Right.
acquisition of Hotmail
Yeah.
in 1997. And so I had developed some expertise around email that I, wanted to leverage. And that's how I started my first company.
Yeah. Fantastic. So you were there right at the beginning of when Microsoft took over Hotmail.
Yes, I actually engineered I was the person who convinced Microsoft management to actually pay $400 million to buy Hotmail.
Of course you were. That's a great conversation starter. Well, what have you done in your life? Well, I convinced Microsoft to spend 400 million quid on an unknown email platform, which they did, obviously. And I remember when Microsoft bought out Hotmail, because I, like most people back then, I had a Hotmail email address. Because they did this really simple marketing thing, didn't they? Every email that got sent out was just email sent via Hotmail, and so you just click the link. Oh, got to get I need an email address, that'll do. And so they what was it about Hotmail that made you think this is worth $400 million in the late 90s? This is. I mean, it's a lot of money now, but it was insane amounts of money back then. No one had heard of deals like this, right?
You're right. But remember, this was in 1997 at the height of the dot-com boom,
Right.
where companies were going public at $1 billion or more valuation. So what was interesting about Hotmail was that it was growing very rapidly, and email is a very addictive application. You need to go check your email, several times a day.
Yeah.
And so I was working on Microsoft at that point, working on MSN.com, and we were late to the game. And so we said, hey, we need something that brings people to our portal every day, multiple times a day. And we heard about Hotmail, saw that it was delivering web-based email service and was growing very rapidly. So we decided to make the offer. Actually, Hotmail at that time was only doing $2-3 million of revenue, but we had to end up paying $400 million for the system because otherwise they would have gone public at $1 billion valuation.
Right.
So it was at that time somewhat of a deal to go get Hotmail at that price.
That's incredible. I have to be honest with you, Shirish. I have a Hotmail account, which I must not have accessed for like 15 years because, email, all of a sudden you could start buying your own domain names, couldn't you? And then Google Mail came along and it changed. Is Microsoft still in ownership of Hotmail? Do you know? Is it still going on?
It is still going on. And I still have a Hotmail account that works. But they have now rebranded as, I think, Outlook Mail.
Right.
And so it's the same system behind the scenes. Behind the curtain is the same system. It just rebranded as Outlook.
Fantastic.
So it's still out there. But, Gmail is now the dominant email system.
Yeah, no, it is. I'm curious. Was it a success? Was it worth the 400 million for Microsoft? Do you look back at it and go, we did a great deal then?
I think so because at that when we bought Hotmail, they had about 10 million users, growing very fast, and then over its lifetime, I think they've gotten to a billion plus email accounts.
Wow.
So I think it was a good buy for Microsoft. Yes, it seemed very expensive at that time, but I think ended up being a good purchase for Microsoft.
So I'm curious, and I appreciate we'll get onto the conversation of e-commerce, but I'm curious. Let's talk about email a little minute here because I'm kind of curious. Why did you and Microsoft at the time go, let's buy Hotmail versus let's start our own email platform, right? So let's start Outlook email, and then we'll be competitors to
Right.
Hotmail. The reason I'm asking this is because this is a question, the takeover question is one that plagues a lot of people. Do I buy an existing thing out there, even like an e-commerce business, for example? Do I buy an existing e-commerce business, or do I start from scratch? And so if you don't, let's just dig into this a little bit because I'm super curious. What was the thinking behind takeover versus starting your own?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question because internally we got pushback from the division at Microsoft that was working on email technology, and they said, "Oh, we can also build something like Hotmail." But we knew based on past experience that it would probably take another 2 years before they would be able to come out with a similar technology and understand how to scale it. That's one of the things that Hotmail did was they had scaled it to millions and millions of accounts, which is not a small undertaking.
Yeah.
And we needed to really uh, give a big boost to MSN by integrating Hotmail. We thought we could get a lot of new users through Hotmail becoming members of MSN.com. And so for that reason, it was a tough decision, but ultimately Bill Gates decided to go ahead with the acquisition and not wait for the email guys at Microsoft to build a similar technology.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So it was the time to market and the ability to scale.
Yes.
And they're two really good principles, aren't they? In terms of, do I buy this business? Well, what's the time to market for me? And how easy is it to scale? And so these guys already had a few million users, versus you would have to build the technology and you would start from scratch. So you would be a few years behind. And I think super important lessons there. Super important. And so you worked at Microsoft. You then start up your own company. You figure out internet email for BlackBerry. So I now understand, because you've got this background in Hotmail, you sort of got your head around that. So it gave you sort of a leap forward. The BlackBerry is no longer with us. So I'm assuming, or maybe it is actually, and I just don't know about it, but I'm assuming you've done some things since then to just keep yourself busy more than anything, I would have thought.
Yeah, well, after that, I started LiveMocha that you mentioned in the introduction, and but now I'm focused on helping entrepreneurs. So I write books, as you mentioned, to share some of my experiences, and then I invest and advise startups. I really enjoy doing that and working with smart entrepreneurs.
And was that a natural progression for you, or did you, as in you sort of you started writing books? I dare say the thing that happens is you sort of start writing books, people start to reach out to you, and they start asking questions. You then start to get involved, don't you? And you kind of figure out what that means. How do I get involved in startups? Well, they've not really got any money to pay me for my time, but I can invest in them for a return of their business. And I think it's a really interesting model. How long have you been doing that?
So for about 7 years, last
Okay.
7 years. Yeah.
Are you enjoying it?
Oh, absolutely. I really enjoy meeting with smart entrepreneurs and helping them with their strategy and go-to-market approach and business models. Those are things that we discuss, and it's exciting to see when somebody really succeeds.
Fantastic. So the title for today's show, Shirish, is Unlocking Marketplace Success marketplace success, and overcoming modern monopolies. So unlocking marketplace success, what do you mean by that? What are some of the things that we should be thinking about at the moment, based on what you see through your investments, through your knowledge of the tech industry? What are some of the things we should be seriously thinking about right now?
Absolutely. So one of the things that is interesting about marketplaces is that you have the chicken or the egg problem when you get started, because no supplier is going to join your marketplace because there are no consumers, and no consumers are going to come to your marketplace because there are no suppliers. So how do you get around that problem? And that's one of the things I discussed in my book is you focus on the supply side of the equation and you focus on a narrow market or category. So I'll give you some examples. Instacart, which is a grocery delivery service in the US. I don't know if they're in the UK as well. But
No, but I know who you mean. I do know who you mean, yeah.
Yeah, but they started in the Bay Area, and initially, what the founder did was he went to the Safeway site. Safeway is a major grocery chain here in the US.
Yeah.
And he scraped all their content and made it available on his website without their permission. Not something that's entirely legal to do, but you have to be scrappy as an entrepreneur. And then allowed his customers to place orders through his website, choose items from the scraped content, and then he would go deliver the groceries himself.
Right.
So that's one example. Another example is DoorDash, which is a food delivery service. And they started in Palo Alto in California. And what they did was they actually scraped the menus off of restaurants in Palo Alto. And they would actually take the order from the consumers and turn around and call the restaurant over the phone. And place the order and go pick it up and deliver it to their customers. And that's how they got started. So you have to be scrappy to figure out how to get started when you have no suppliers on your website. And then once you have some traffic, then you can go to the suppliers and say, look, we've been ordering stuff from your website for all these days. Why don't you become a partner and become, integrate over the internet?
That's really interesting. It's I love those kind of stories where somebody somewhere just goes, there's a proof of concept here. So DoorDash just goes, I'm just going to put a load of menus on the website. People are going to order stuff. I'm going to take their order. I'm then going to call that restaurant, order that food, pick it up and deliver it. And I'm not going to make any money because there's no way you can make money on whatever it was, a $4 or $5 delivery. Maybe they could at the start. I don't know. But it gives that really interesting proof of concept, doesn't it? Because you don't need all your ducks in a row. You just, is there a market for this? Is there an easy way to test this concept, to test this idea, yes or no? I love your phrase, you've got to be a little bit scrappy. And I think it's just thinking around that, like, can we prove this concept, yes or no? And quite quickly, I think you'll discover whether it's a yes or whether it's a no, right? So with DoorDash and Instacart, they quite quickly discovered what was going on and obviously grew from there to the point where they then have people knocking down on their door going, can you please add my stuff to your website? Right. Really interesting. And do you see that happening a lot, or do you think even still today people are like, no, I've got to have this I've got to do this isn't it? I've got to have all of these things in a row before I start?
No, every situation I've encountered, whether it's DoorDash or Instacart or Airbnb, the founders have been supremely scrappy to figure out how to get supply side of the equation on their marketplace, and then they go after consumers. So Airbnb is a good example. Before Airbnb, people would use Craigslist to advertise that they had a house for rent, etc. And so what the Airbnb founders did was they would go to all the Craigslist listers the people doing the listings and say, hey, why don't you come on Airbnb and you can now put pictures of your home on our website instead of just a simple listing. And so they basically hacked into Craigslist to create supply on their website.
It's really clever. Really clever. What, I mean, there's lots of different stories there, lots of different marketplace ideas, so you've got food delivery, you've got shopping delivery, you've obviously got the home rentals. What are maybe, just a slightly different turn here, Shirish, what do you see emerging in this kind of marketplace market, for want of a better expression, that is really quite innovative and that you've got your eye on and think that's going to take off? Like, what's the next Airbnb or that you see at the moment?
There's been an evolution of marketplaces over time, from simple listing type of marketplace like eBay or Craigslist to now marketplaces like Opendoor, which will, basically buy, let's say you have a home for sale, they will actually buy the home from you, renovate it, and then sell it themselves at a profit. And it's all a very well oiled machine.
Yeah.
Where no human being is really involved. It's all managed for you. So managed marketplaces are a big phenomena that's happening, where a lot of the transaction is handled for you as opposed to you doing all that work.
Yeah, you see it in the UK. You see a lot of, dare say you have them in the States as well, a lot of the WeBuyAnyCar.com type thing, where you've got something for sale, we'll buy it from you cheaper, but we've obviously got a process to sell that somewhere down the line and make a profit. But at no point in that whole process do you talk to a human being until the very last minute, where a human has to inspect your car just to make sure it is what you said it is.
Right. Yeah. So the more you can automate the whole transaction, the more transactions that can happen on your marketplace. So you have to grease that whole process.
Yeah, it's very true. And these are called managed marketplaces.
Yes, managed.
Yeah. So Opendoor, what other examples have you got of sort of up and coming spaces like the marketplaces like this, where you think, I'm really, this idea in itself is interesting, like the ability to sell your house instantly. What else do you see happening in that space?
I think there's a lot of potential for B2B marketplace, something I talk about in my book. Another example is a company called Convoy, which is also located in Seattle. And they basically connect, trucking companies with companies who want to ship freight. And they, make that process very simple. They will figure out how far you are from the freight supplier and then price based on your distance, because they know how much distance you have to travel and pick up and deliver, etc. All that stuff is calculated for you and done automatically. In the old days, before Convoy came on stream, they used to actually have brokers who would be on the phone calling different freight suppliers and trucking companies and saying, hey, I have this freight to be delivered from Seattle to Portland, and the freight supplier is going to pay you $800 to do that. Do you want to take it? And it was a very cumbersome process that is now all automated for you. And because of the GPS tracking, etc., where the truck is, when it'll be delivered, all of that is all automated for you.
Yeah. Wow. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. The whole managed marketplace thing. How does that... You mentioned that in the book you talked about opportunities in B2B. One of the things that I'm trying to understand here is we have a lot of people listening to the show who are in e-commerce, right? So I'm going to say traditional e-commerce. So they have a website, they sell a product or a digital service online. to their customers. It's their website. They may be listing their website in other marketplaces, such as the obvious one being Amazon, right? So we sell on our website, we sell on Amazon. With what you know, talk to me like, what are the things that I'm missing? What are some of the things that I should be thinking about that's going to help me based on what you know about marketplaces, managed marketplaces, the other stuff you've written in your book, Shirish? What should I be thinking about right now?
Well, so the challenge that you face with Amazon is that while you get a lot of customers through Amazon, Amazon apparently takes $1 for every $2 of sale. So they're taking literally 50% of the transaction in a variety of different situations. And obviously, when you're giving up 50% of your revenue, it's very hard to make a profit. And so,
Yeah.
what e-commerce sites have to consider is one is, are there other marketplaces that they can join, like Walmart in the US and potentially others, or Etsy also, which is a worldwide marketplace. So expand your reach where perhaps you can make more of a profit from each transaction. And then secondly, see if you can go direct to consumer on your own website, but that'll also require significant investment in marketing. But maybe it'll be profitable. There is a rule of thumb that we have in the venture world, which is your lifetime value of your customer has to be at least 3 times the cost of customer acquisition.
Yeah.
So, assuming you spend $1 on marketing to acquire a customer, make sure you're making at least $3 in profit from that customer over the lifetime. If that is the case, then you have a direct-to-consumer opportunity as well.
Yeah. No, it's interesting, that ratio, the 3-to-1 ratio, your lifetime value to your, they call it CAC, don't they? The cost, customer acquisition
LTV
cost.
to CAC.
Yeah,
Yes.
LTV to CAC. And so the ratio 3-to-1 has been banded around, I think, for a little while. What's interesting, and maybe you can talk to this, is I'm starting to hear rumors that actually that ratio has now got to increase for investors to be interested, just because the cost of money is going up with higher interest rates. So obviously for investors, there's the opportunity cost is now greater because they can get interest on their money. Borrowing money is now more expensive. So I've heard a number of people talking about a 4-to-1, even a 5-to-1 lifetime value to customer acquisition cost, or LTV to CAC.
Yeah, that is true, because as you rightly mentioned, when you're calculating the LTV, you're discounting future cash flow to the present, and the higher the interest rate, the more the cash flow in the future gets discounted. And so, when you have higher interest rates, that ratio can be more like 4 or 5-to-1.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. That's always a good place to be, because then you clearly have profitability that you can then raise money on.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because it helps you define marketing budget. We had Matt Pooner on the show last week. Well, he was the last person I interviewed. Whether he's the last week in terms of show order, I don't actually know the way these things come out. But he was talking about this and creating a really clear marketing budget on the basis of what he called blended ROAS. But again, understanding that ratio, understanding lifetime value to customer acquisition cost is really quite an interesting thing to sort of think about. Especially if you've got the cash. I mean, a lot of people starting out don't have the cash flow to bankroll, these sort of things. And so they tend to be much higher. So we're talking then about marketplaces, managed marketplaces. We're talking about startups and hustle, and maybe not just relying on Amazon now, obviously looking at different marketplaces, having your own direct-to-consumer site, understanding that. What do you mean when you talk about overcoming modern monopolies then?
Yeah. So one of the hypotheses of the book is that once you get a marketplace going, then there's a virtuous cycle that follows where as you add more suppliers, more consumers come to the site because there's a wide array of suppliers, and then more suppliers come because there are more consumers. And then basically the end state is when you become a monopoly.
Yeah.
And so you've seen that multiple times with Amazon, with eBay, with Alibaba, and Instacart and DoorDash. They all become monopolies, or it's either winner take all or winner take most kind of situation.
Yeah.
The problem with becoming a monopoly is that it becomes very easy to abuse that monopoly power to the detriment of your consumers and suppliers.
Right.
And I give several examples of that in my book about Amazon and Apple and Google. Amazon, for example, has a private label business called Amazon Basics. You may be
Yeah.
familiar
Yeah. Yeah. Seen that.
with
Yeah.
that. And so what has happened is people internally within Amazon have been able to access proprietary data from different suppliers to figure out which markets are the most profitable to enter into. And then they basically reverse engineer that item and go directly to the manufacturers and say, why don't you manufacture that product for us as well?
Yeah.
And then when you go to the website, they will self-preference themselves higher than other manufacturers. And so that has created a lot of problem for many suppliers who now suddenly find themselves in competition with Amazon.
Yeah.
So it's not something that the management of Amazon has explicitly said. Jeff Bezos has not gone out there and said to people in his company, "Go do this." It's just that people have abused the monopoly power to their own, benefit.
Yeah.
And so, as management team, Amazon has to make sure that you don't give access to proprietary data to the average individual within Amazon.
Yeah, it's really fascinating, isn't it? And this is always the danger, isn't it? When you sell on a marketplace like Amazon, the customer's not yours; it's the customer's theirs. The data is theirs. You're just there for the sale and hoping that by selling on Amazon, it actually raises awareness of your brand and people migrate from Amazon to your website. And there's strategies behind how you do that, isn't there? And sort of thinkings to do that. But you're right, there is a danger here that as an e-commerce brand, if you're selling on marketplaces, that you are in effect giving free access to your sales data to these marketplaces. As well as obviously a commission and a cut and so on and so forth. So you do see the rise of Amazon Basics, and also one day Amazon might just go, yeah, I don't want you to sell on my website anymore, and there's not a whole great deal you can do about it, to be fair. And if that's your business, you there's plenty of stories of people being screwed over like that. So. I mean, you've talked about this as in if you become a monopoly, don't abuse your power, right? So a bit like, I'm going back to the 1990s now. When you were at Microsoft, they were in the press all the time, being investigated because of their monopoly power. You don't tend to see that as much these days, actually. Every now and again, the EU takes a bit of a swipe at Apple. You've got to use USB-C chargers or it's no go. But you don't tend to see those sort of big court cases now over monopolies that you used to see. But obviously they exist in Apple in quite some major ways. So I'm always curious as to why it's not happened to Apple yet. But all that aside, what do I need to think about as an e-commerce company that is maybe going to other people's marketplaces? I mean, you've talked a little bit about having a direct-to-consumer site and being aware that you're giving them your sales data. Is there anything else I should think about?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that you might want to be careful about is making sure that nobody knows who your manufacturer is. Let's say you're manufacturing the item in China, is to keep that as secret, as possible, so that nobody, whether Amazon or anybody else, doesn't go back to that manufacturer and re-engineer the same item.
Yeah, and have strong agreements in place over that. Yeah, suppliers can really mess up your business if you're not careful. That was certainly my experience, So let's start from the beginning, right? I get the benefits of doing the marketplace, right? I from an entrepreneurial point of view, I see the benefit. If I can create a marketplace, I don't need any product. I just need people to list. I need a mechanism to connect a buyer and a seller together and take a small percentage in the middle, right?
Yes.
And it doesn't have to necessarily be a big percentage, but it can. If it's a big market, it can be super profitable, right? And the bigger I get, the more profitable it's going to be, the more people are going to depend on me. How do I get started, right? Because I'm sitting there thinking, this is genius. I should have mattsmarketplace.com or whatever, I'm going to set up. How do I pick a good industry or market to think about marketplaces in? Because the ones that I'm thinking of, Shirish, I think are very oversaturated. But I don't know if that should stop me. There's already Amazon in the e-commerce world. At some point, I dare say someone's going to knock Amazon off their perch because no one ever stays on top forever.
Right.
But I don't know if that's going to be me in my shed. I don't know. I'm just kind of curious. Where would you start with it all?
I would. One is looking at markets emerging markets where Amazon is not yet, a dominant player. So, for example, in India, before Amazon became a major player, you had companies like Flipkart, which was founded by two engineers who had worked at Amazon, went back to India, and started a marketplace like Amazon.
Right.
So, if you happen to be from a different country, then perhaps you could create a marketplace in a different location where Amazon or Walmart or somebody else is not dominant. The other option I could take is to, go deep into one category. So, today Amazon, for example, is not a marketplace really for fashion goods. So maybe in a different country, in a different location, I might be able to create a marketplace just for fashion brands and do some of the things that Amazon doesn't do, such as providing data and giving them branding opportunities, etc. So basically, I have to do things that I have to look for, niche locations or categories where I can really dominate.
So niche it down or go to a different country. I like that. I like the thinking there. And you are right. So if I'm going to say start a marketplace, and you mentioned fashion brands, what makes a good marketplace? Do I sit there and think, this is how my brain works, right? What is it that the customer's not currently getting when they buy on other websites that I can give them in this marketplace other than choice, right? Because I have to do something. Well, do I have to do something that is more than just choice? Do I have to be innovative in some kind of way? What do I need to think about there?
Right. I mean, initially, it's all about creating is all about choice, convenience, and price, as you know, right? Those are the three major items. So maybe it's price. Maybe you price goods at a level that you can't get directly from the supplier, and that happened in India. For example, Flipkart, for a long time, because they had enormous VC funding, they basically subsidized the sale of smartphones on their marketplace. So it became really inexpensive to buy those smartphones, and they lost money on every sale. But that is what made those marketplaces really popular. Now, having said that, I would say that you have to have, significant VC funding to be able to afford to do that. But initially, it has to come down to price or convenience. So on convenience, maybe you implement free shipping for certain period of time or whatever. But again, for that, you need money to try some of those tactics.
Yeah. As you're talking, I'm thinking about one of our websites we used to own. I sold it a few years ago called Jersey Beauty Company. And in effect, we sold different beauty brands. That's what we did. We bought in from different suppliers. We had to get supplier agreements. We then sold that product on our website direct to consumer. And that's not technically a marketplace. I wouldn't have thought. That was just me buying products and trying to sell them at a profit. But what intrigues me about the beauty industry is this idea of doing a beauty marketplace where you could bring in just about everybody's. You could scrape the data and bring it in, and as long as you've got some way of buying it. Now, a lot of beauty brands now have terms and conditions of supply, right? So at the time, there was a brand we sold called Dermalogica. And Dermalogica, you had to have a salon, a beauty salon. So they had quite stringent terms of supply. You had to have a salon, a trained therapist to get their, in their products, to buy their product, to then sell it on your website. Your website had to conform to certain standards. And then in 2012, they changed their pricing policy. Was it 2012? I think it was 2012. Basically, they changed their pricing policy to one which was the more you buy, the more you pay, which sounds a bit odd, but that's what they did for reasons known to them. And so then, our prices went up because we were quite a big supplier of their product. How do you get around this with marketplaces in terms of there are suppliers out there who are very, very anti-use selling their stuff online or being some kind of, we were not allowed, part of the terms and conditions supply with most of the beauty brands, we couldn't sell on Amazon and we couldn't sell on eBay. We had to sell it direct on our website. We couldn't sell outside the European Union. Dermalogica have since built their own direct-to-consumer business, which as a business person, I understand. Why would I not want to go direct to consumer and make the most profit? But for somebody in the middle, it's quite tricky dealing with a supplier like that.
Right.
So how do you mitigate that if you're doing your own marketplace? If you find suppliers that just aren't interested in working with you, but you've hustled a little bit. What are some of your experiences there?
I mean, this has happened on Amazon as the only way to get around that is somehow get that product from the black market, in a sense. Find some salon out there who is willing to sell you that product, and then you turn around and sell it on your marketplace. But if the supplier is not willing to sell you the product, there's not much you can really do about it except to buy it from other sources at a inexpensive price. Did you try that? Getting it from the product from other salons?
At the time, no. But part of me, and I appreciate the problems that buying on the black market does. But it's one of those where you kind of go, if I was going to do it now, if I was going to set up a beauty website now, not that I would, but if I was going to, I think you would have to find a way around it. So part of me would be actually probably the better thing I can do is go around to all the Dermalogica salons that have Dermalogica accounts and create a Dermalogica marketplace where they all put their details in because they're a small salon. They've not got time to do their own website or anything like that. We market that. We sell the products to the end consumer. But it's the salon that fulfills the orders from their stock. Do you see what I mean? We connect the buyer and the seller. So we thought about that. Could we do something around that, for example? Dermalogica might be a bad example because I don't think it's a particularly popular brand anymore. I think they shot themselves in the foot slightly. Just my personal opinion. Please, Dermalogica lawyers, don't shoot me. It's just an opinion. But it's one of those where I think I think I could do something a bit more creative if that makes sense,
Right.
with the salon owners maybe.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, you have to figure out a way to get that supply,
Yeah,
and either you buy it from the salons or create a marketplace for
yeah,
the salons to sell through your site.
yeah. No, very clever. Very clever. Loving that. Listen, I'm aware of time. As always, I'm just getting warmed up. And as always, I'm coming to the end of the time. It flashes on my screen going, you've got a few minutes left. Listen, Shirish, it's been great chatting to you, man. And I love the story about Microsoft, by the way, and Hotmail. I'll remember that. I will remember that, I have no doubt. If people want to reach out to you, if they want to find out more, maybe about the book, where to get the book, how to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so you can search for my 2 books on Amazon. So you search by my name, Shirish Nadkarni, or you can come to my website, www.shirishnadkarni.com. I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. I welcome people to connect with me. If you're an entrepreneur, you have any questions, happy to chat with you anytime.
Fantastic. Fantastic. We will, of course, link to all of that information on the website and in the show notes as well. So if you're listening to this podcast on your non-BlackBerry device, I dare say, you can click the link and that will take you straight through. Listen, super appreciate you coming on to the show, man. Genuinely love the conversation. And really, really appreciate you being here. Lots to think about. And you've resurrected some ideas in my head. So a big thank you for that.
Thank you, Matt. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Fantastic. Well, there you go. What another fantastic conversation. Huge thanks again to Shirish for joining me today. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast from, because we've got some more great conversations lined up and I don't want you to miss any of them. And in case no one has told you yet today, let me be the first person to tell you, you are awesome. Yes, you are. Created awesome. It's just a burden you have to bear. Shirish has to bear it. I've got to bear it. You've got to bear it as well. It's just the way it is. Now, this show is produced by the talented and amazing Sadaf Bainon and Tanya Hutzelak. The theme song was written by Josh Edmondson. And as I said, if you would like to read the transcript, the show notes, all those sorts of good things, head over to the website, ecommercepodcast.net, where they all await for you. And you can consume them to your heart's content. All that's left for me to say is thank you so much for joining us. That's it from me. That's it from Shirish. Have a fantastic week wherever you are in the world. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.